Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, and today I will be reviewing The Wolf's Hour by Robert R. McCammon. I think this is the first McCammon book that I've read this year, which is really strange because I've been reading a lot of his books the past couple years, and I have a lot of his books left to go, and they're all sitting on my shelf, but I guess it just kept getting pushed in my priority list. So it's December, and I snuck in one McCammon, and this is a good book. I liked it. I don't know that I loved it. I don't think that I did because honestly, I'm really split on it. And that's why I wanted to talk about it and make it a video about it today. Because I have these conflicting thoughts and I don't really know what to make of it. So let's talk about The Wolf's Hour. First, what is it about? I like the description on the back, so I'm just going to go ahead and read that to you. D-Day is threatened, but one man could rip the heart out of the Nazis with his bare claws. He is Michael Gallatin, master spy, lover, and werewolf. Able to change shape with lightning speed, to kill silently or with savage snarling fury, he proved his talents against Rommel in Africa. Now he faces his most delicate, dangerous mission, to unravel the secret Nazi plan known as Iron Fist. From a parachute jump into occupied France to the lush corruption of Berlin, from the arms of a beautiful spy to the cold embrace of a madman's death machine, Gallatin draws ever closer to the ghastly truth about Iron Fist. But with only hours to D-Day, he is trapped in the Nazis' web of destruction. So that description describes only half of this book. There are actually two novels in here. That's how I'm describing it. Because the way this book is formatted, there was like 50 to 75 pages of the plot that I just described to you, of him infiltrating Berlin. And then it goes to 50 to 75 pages of him as a child. And there's throughout the book, it goes back and forth like that. Berlin, child, Berlin, child, Berlin, child. And those are two very different type of feeling stories that are in here. They feel kind of separate from each other. And that's why I have these split feelings about this book. That coming of age story of him as a child being turned into a werewolf at a very young age, like 8 years old, learning to live with his pack, learning to hunt, learning how to transform, the hierarchy of the pack and navigating that, getting older, entering his teenage years, dealing with harsh winters and predators and stuff like that. That's like it's a completely different type of story, and it evokes different feelings in the reader. It did in me. Whereas the Berlin storyline, the D-Day storyline, is more of a traditional men's adventure novel. And these two plots don't quite come together, in my opinion, to create like a perfect harmony. They feel a little bit too separate from each other. Other than the fact that it's all the same character, just the type of story that it is, it just kind of throws off the balance a little bit. It reminded me of the way that Scott Lynch formats the Gentleman Bastards books. If you read The Lies of Locke Lamora, that's a pretty beloved book, but one of the criticisms of it is that format of cutting back and forth between modern day and the main character as a child. This does the same thing, and those results are mixed. I actually prefer the coming of age story in this, which is kind of strange. I liked him learning to navigate growing up, being surrounded by these older people, some of them who take to him right away and welcome him, others who are, kind of jealous of him and don't really want him there, don't think that he belongs. It reminded me a little bit of a modern book, Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones, which is about set in a modern day, a family of nomadic werewolves that have to constantly keep moving, like that dynamic. It reminded me of that a lot. I like that book too. And there's just something, even though they're werewolves, there is something kind of grounded about that storyline that worked really well for me. The other storyline is kind of a more traditional men's adventure, where Michael Gallatin is a pretty much unbeatable one man army. Like he sustains damage. You know, he takes wounds, but he always gets back up. He always finishes the mission. He is the most incredible lover that any woman has ever encountered. Every woman that he meets in this book is absolutely gorgeous and falls in love with him instantly and wants to have sex with him. Well, no, there's one woman who doesn't fall in love with him instantly. She's a little standoffish, but that quickly turns around. And like all the sex scenes are very descriptive, and he's just like, he's amazing. He can do absolutely no wrong. Um, so they feel completely disparate from each other, and they are individually on their own two really great books that come together to form a pretty good one that is unevenly paced and struggles to find that right balance. It's also too long. It's a 600-page book, and it feels like it. Even though, again, each of those individual stories is well paced, is exciting, moves quickly enough. The fact that you have to keep going back and forth between them, and the mood is shifting so drastically, it creates a feeling of unevenness, of imbalance. And it just kind of drags this out and lengthens it quite a bit. There was actually a point halfway through where I considered not reading it at the way that it's printed, but instead just finishing the coming of age story straight through, and then going back and finishing the D-Day story all the way through, to just read them as separate books. I didn't do that because it's my first time reading it. I got to read it as it's written, and that's just how I felt about it. I'm curious if anybody else has read this, if they felt the same way. Let me know about that in the comments. But overall, I did like The Wolf's Hour. I think it's where would I put it with like McCammon stuff? It's about like online with like Mystery Walk. I mean, I think maybe I liked Mystery Walk a little bit more. Not as good as Mine, not as good as Boy's Life or Swan Song for sure. Better than Baal, definitely better than Baal or Baal, whatever the pronunciation is there. My arbitrary and subjective grade for The Wolf's Hour by Robert R. McCammon, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Nice, I think, middle of the road kind of grade for it. Do with that what you will. Again, let me know if you've read this book in the comments below and your thoughts. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now it's time to get back to reading.